gonna make it bend and break. Say a prayer, but let the good times roll, in case God doesn't show.
Alright, here we are. Tanks for the memories. God, I'm so witty, it hurts sometimes. Basilray here. You don't need to see me for this because it's not about my face, which is not pretty anyways. It's all about the tanks. So I've got 5 different tanks here. These are kind of some of the, readily available tanks. They're not all of them. I'm not trying to look at all of them. I'm just going to kind of show you the ones that I currently have going and give you a quick rundown, what I think, bang for the buck, all that kind of stuff. So we have the clean tank, which is made entirely out of Pyrex, available from Avid Vapor. This is a tank, I believe it's from Mom and Pop Vapor Shop. Just a pretty cheap little 510 with a filler screw. This is the D tank from smokesignals.com, which is designed for dual coil use. Here is the Bella tank, which is now available from HoosierVape.com. This is the retailer there. Here is the John Boy Lava tank, which is much ballyhooed. I think ballyhooed is a good thing. Well, whatever's a good thing that's similar to ballyhooed, that's what I'm going for. So each of these tanks is going to do essentially the exact same thing, and that is meant to wick large amounts of e-liquid into a cartomizer to prevent you from having to drip or having to top off at any kind of regular interval. Most of these are available to accommodate either a single coil or a dual coil. I'll state up front, my preference has typically been for single coil 2-ohm Bose cartomizers or 2-ohm 801 Fusion cartomizers. So that's kind of what I have in all of these, with the exception of the D tank, which is set up for a dual coil. So we'll kind of give you the run. These two are the most similar, and that is ballyhooed. Pretty sure that's the right word choice there. There's been a lot of debate and contention about who came up with what ideas and how they build it. I'm not going to get into that because a lot of that, I think, quickly escalates into being childish and immature discussion. But these tanks are turned out of acrylic. They come in very fancy, swirly designs. They're both fairly hard to get, highly customized in terms of what kind of color selections you want. They're designed to run standard 510 cartomizers. Of course, the 801 Fusion will fit in here, and if you've got a 510 mod like me, you'll probably have an adapter tucked into your 801 Fusion cartomizer. These both use standard polycarbonate tubing, meaning they're going to be a very poor choice for liquids that contain things like cinnamon oil or potentially some of the vanilla type ice creamy stuff flavors from TPA. They are known to destroy polycarbonate. So you're going to want to stay away from those or have some backup polycarb tubes cut and ready to go. These function on exactly the same premise in that they're going to use an O-ring to hold all of this in place. You're going to want a punched or slotted cartomizer. My preference has become punched, which is going to need to be punched at such a level that it's going to fit above the bottom cap. Bottom caps are of somewhat different heights here on both of these. They're pretty close. I think the lava tank sits just a hair higher in terms of, just a hair higher in terms of where that hole really needs to be and how that's going to fit. The biggest difference here between the two of these is going to be how easily this top cap comes off. I'm applying a pretty good amount of pressure here, and I can't get the lava tank open. So I'm really kind of cranking on it, and I haven't had this open for a bit. Once you kind of get it open, it should open easier. And come on. Wow, that is really snug today. And this is on the 801 Fusion. You can see spilled some juice here. Pop that back on. Fits on real snug here for whatever reason today. And there you go. Once you kind of get, as long as your O-rings stay nice and moist, you'll be good to go. But still kind of difficult to get on and off. I mean, not incredibly difficult. Takes a little bit of force. If you have hand issues or you have hand strength issues, maybe arthritis, something of that nature, you may struggle a little bit with the lava tank for that reason. The Bella tank, on the other hand, comes off quite easily. I mean, it comes right on, right off. Not so easy that it's going to completely come off in your pocket. Is going to take a little bit of force. This O-ring's going to grab here. I'm told they use slightly different O-rings to achieve the same thing. These are both available in kind of Ming or Pawn, very direct knockoff of the Cherry Vape style drip tips that are integrated into the top cap, so you don't need anything separate there. let's look at these two. These two are very similar. I did a review on the Bella tank. You can pretty much take everything I said about the Bella tank and apply it to the lava tank, and for all intents and purposes, it's about the same review. One that's a little bit different, and there are several tanks that kind of employ this style setup. This has got very odd kind of, here's one that doesn't have an O-ring on it. The O-rings really seal this all together. Let me grab this end cap, fish it out of a mess of e-liquid bottles without knocking everything. There we go. Oops, and it bounced all over. So this is what the end cap is. It's basically a rubber kind of grommet. Almost looks like an Oreo without the filling, or an empty hamburger. And actually it looks a lot like a hamburger with a black bun when you throw that O-ring in the middle, because the ones that came with this were red. This is designed again for maybe an 808 or 510 single coil cartomizer. Holds a couple mils of liquid here in the tank. You're going to need a punched cartomizer. You can kind of see my punch hole sticking up there right on the bottom. What's different about this one is that if you have a small filler bottle, maybe a bottle with a needle, or you have an extra syringe around, you can fill this quite easily without having to take the top cap off and put it back on, which has a tendency to create kind of a pressure that's going to shoot juice into your cartomizer. So with the lava tank or the Bella tank, if you're not careful and you just pop the top, push it back on, that force is going to force juice up into the filler of the cartomizer, and your cartomizer is going to be leaking right off the bat. Where this tank, I believe from Mom and Pop Vapor Shop, really fails is these. It's incredibly difficult to put together because of these squishy O-ring caps. You really kind of have to put one end in, then kind of jam the top cap on. It's pretty difficult. You do have to have some sort of drip tip here to really use this comfortably. They're really inexpensive. I think they're somewhere in the $10 neighborhood. So this will get you there, but I would contend that spending a little bit more money is probably worth your frustration level at using a tank like this. There are other tanks that employ this kind of side screw or fill port design. I haven't really used any of them. I know there's the M1A1 and a few others that use this, and I'm guessing it is fairly convenient. For me, I mean, most of the bottles that I have sitting around are 30 ml bottles that have large tips, and this tip is not going to fit into that hole, meaning I can't really use it for that purpose. I can use a syringe or something else, but then again, you're taking out some of that ease of use factor right off the bat. The D tank is most similar to the lava tank and the Bella tank. In fact, it uses about the same size polycarb tubing, so I could take the polycarb here, and I've done it, and put it on the D tank. The D tank is made from what almost looks like Play-Doh. You're not really going to be able to see it very well here, and I don't quite have a fancy enough camera to show it off. But really, this looks like something that was molded out of Play-Doh that was swirled together. It feels nice and smooth, and I like the feel of it. It's much lighter than the material used in the Bella tank and the lava tank. The point of failure here, one, I don't like dual coils, so that can be fixed by adjusting the polycarbonate tubing. But if you look here, you can see the bottom of this was not sanded flat, meaning this thing doesn't like to fit on properly. Same thing with the interior here, which, let's see if I can get enough light in there. It just doesn't like to sit on this tube correctly. I haven't contacted Anthony from Smoke Signals, but if you look here, you can see it just doesn't fit ever quite right all the way around. And I feel like I'm constantly forcing this together. I can't ever get the flange in this dual coil to sit flush. If I do, it pushes the top cap out, and then you're potentially getting leakage. If I really jam it together, I can. You can see it left a dent in my finger. So just it doesn't quite fit together, and the finish on this probably just needs a little more attention to detail, and I think it's not bad for the price, which is somewhere in the $20 range. I think initially these were $19.95. They may have gone up in price. Certainly does work, and it's going to get the job done, and it's going to be a bit fancier than something like this cheapo mom and pop tank. The last big tank we're going to take a look at here, I do have a separate video on this. This is the Pyrex Clean Tank. So the advantage here is that unlike all the rest of these tanks, none of these tanks with the polycarbonate tubing are going to get you very far with cinnamon oils, some of those, vanilla bean swirly flavors, and some other real, acidic or real oily, strong flavors. The Clean Tank, if you're a big cinnamon vapor and you love to vape things with lots of cinnamon oil, or really regularly with any amount of cinnamon oil, some of your milkshakey type flavors potentially, you're going to really want to have a clean tank, potentially a Finiac tank, which I don't have one. I've never used one. You're going to want a tank that has a glass tubing because it's not going to be prone to cracking like the polycarb on all those other tanks is. Of course, the one downside to this is that it is Pyrex, so you do have to be maybe a little bit more careful with it. I've dropped this from my desk to my floor, dropped it on my desk, tipped it over on mods a million times, in and out of my pockets, never had a problem, but certainly in the right scenario, you could shatter this thing probably into a zillion pieces. It fits together pretty snug. You know, if you really want pointed info about putting it together, I would suggest you go out and check out JJ, the main man behind the Clean Tanks video about it. He's got some great tips for filling it. This is the most expensive of all of these tanks. I think the lava tank is the hardest to get, and it's around the $60 neighborhood. There is also a stainless steel version. Bella tank, a little less expensive, still somewhat difficult to get just due to the batch size. You can get a million of these things super cheap, super easy. Time will tell what the availability on the D tank's going to be. Clean tanks are always kind of available. Part of that is the pricing. So they are, this particular one is, I want to say $80 or $85. This is the 2-piece. I've got a 1-piece coming, so I'm going to see how I like that. I just haven't gotten hands-on with it yet. Should be here this week. But this is probably my favorite tank. I like the mouthpiece. Just feels comfortable on the old lips. Works well. I don't have to worry about what liquid I put in this. I can easily throw in my standard 510 Bose style cartos when I can get them when they're not failing. Welcome to Bose Gate 2012. And you know, I like the feel aesthetically. I like the clean look. I'm a fan of this. I know it's pricey. I would pay the money to have this and forego any of the other tanks we looked at. And in fact, I'm probably going to be moving some of them onto new homes because with all these tanks, I can't use all of them at once. And then also have, you know, I have 2 Odysseus in rotation. I have so many liquid facility wickers that I don't need them all. So, yeah, I like any of these. I certainly have a preference for these 3 lava tank and Bella tank. Kind of interchangeable in my mind. They're so similar. My favorite, my workhorse tank here is, of course, the Pyrex clean tank because I don't have to worry about what I do with it outside of slamming it on the cement. So that's kind of a look. I mean, all of these in the end are going to accomplish exactly the same thing. So it really comes down to a trio of things: pricing, availability, and what you like. I can't sit here and honestly tell you that you're going to like the Bella tank better than the lava tank, better than the clean tank. I can't do that. It's going to get down to a subjective level, an availability level, and what you can afford. I know not everybody can afford to run out and buy a Pyrex clean tank. I know not everybody can afford the time it takes sometimes to get in line to get a lava tank. The D tank, it's not a bad tank. I am not a dual coil guy. If you like dual coils, going for this. It's fancy enough, just fancy enough. There's about 5 or 6 colors available. I do have some concerns just about how much attention is paid to detail on this overall, but like I said, I've never taken it up at the vendor, so I don't have a lot of room to complain or ask for anything special out of it. And this is a pretty cheap tank. I think there are cheap tanks that I like better. I like the standard cheapo Smoke-Tech single coil tank better than I like this one because it has hard plastic caps, easier to work with. So in the end, you are the master of your own tanking destiny. I'm just trying to help you make an educated decision. You're going to have to figure out what you like aesthetically, what you can afford, and what you can get. So I hope this helps. Tanks for all the memories, again, because I'm just so damn witty. Basilray, signing out. Catch you guys around. Until I see you next time, please, by all means, take care.